Megan there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is.
But we can't hear her yet, or...
Okay. No, I don't think we can hear her as well.
Rohan's just trying to fix the sound, Megan, if you can hear me.
She can.
Oh, is that her?
No. Yeah, we can't hear you, Megan. Is your microphone on?
Rohan's just trying to fix the sound, Megan, if you can hear me.
Okay, so it's about a 15-second delay.
Oh, is that her?
We just gotta keep that in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Megan. Is your microphone on?
Rohan's just trying to fix the sound, Megan, if you can hear me.
Okay, so it's about...
I just need to edit this email.
Can you hear us now, Megan?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
Okay,
there
cool.
you are.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Sorry, can you guys keep talking? I just want to
Yeah.
make sure that...
Can I just ask you a
can
question
get
about this? Does this mean that this email is queued to go out to 16 people?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Cool. I need to edit any that are going out.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, sorry, Megan. I just got an email from someone asking about the time because I had been promoting it as 12 midday EST when it should have been EDT.
Oh,
I was just complaining this morning about there being so many time zones and being completely confused. So I'm not surprised that that's happened. But yeah, I'm just trying to update any emails that have yet to go out.
Okay, so that's from test. Okay.
so you can both hear me all right now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just testing it out on the live stream though.
Okay.
Maybe just a few settings. Okay. Wait, I got my audio input settings. Properties. Default. Hey Megan, can you say something?
Yep. Hello, testing.
How about that? Thank you. Trish, can you join this meeting as well?
Yeah, sure.
And share the result.
Yeah.
Just want to see what comes up.
$159 registrations.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
Better get this thing working.
Will I need to join with computer audio, or will I just mute myself? Or?
Yeah, you can join with computer audio, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just mute.
Okay, let's delete this screen. Just well, can you guys keep talking? Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Hello.
Are you just going to test it out in the office and see?
Yeah.
Do you want to get anyone else to log on from their computer, or?
Good. Let's see how we can display off. Okay, yeah, there we go. So, sorry, I'll just do that.
Okay.
Do you want us to keep talking?
Yeah, I think it does. I'll just close the door. Yeah, I mean, I guess we can just start to run through it.
Yeah.
Rowan's gone out to the office to kind of test what it sounds like. I know I can hear myself back. I'm not sure about you.
No, I've got headphones in, so
Okay,
it kind of cuts out the.
yeah. Okay, so this, I guess, would be the holding slide when people log on beforehand.
Yep.
And then once we kick off, we can, do we need something for that? No, I can just say, welcome to the webinar. I'm very glad that you could join us. Your presenters for today are Megan Reddit. Should I say from Intrepid Landcare, or how do you want to be introduced?
Yeah, you can say that. That's easy for people to identify, I guess.
I know you've got lots of different hats, so.
I know, it's confusing. That one's probably the easiest, I think, though.
Okay, cool. And then Rohan Antau, Innovation and Technology Manager at Landcare Australia, and all-round digital whiz. So ask them any tricky questions that you might have. And then I think I'll just pass over to you to kick off. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
And then you can start with this one. So I can look at popping any images or whatever onto the slides after, but I just kind of copied over what you had done, what you sent through last night into this,
Cool.
just the text for now.
Yeah. Should that, it's probably a typo from my end, is what are you curious to get out of today?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And did you want Ro and I to introduce ourselves in any more depth, just to give?
Yeah, actually, maybe. Yeah.
We could just say
That's probably a good way to start.
what we do, and maybe just really, really briefly about
Yeah.
how we've used technology in our work and related to Landcare.
Mm-hmm.
Since login is just an issue with the feedback. There's a slight feedback loop that's coming along. Can't hear you too clearly. And the screen's too big.
Right.
All me. So, is your can you mute yours? Yeah, you might have to sit close to me.
Mm-hmm.
Just in terms, I think that might have been the feedback loop.
Oh, okay. Do you want to try it again?
Yeah,
because
I mean-
I could hear myself and now I can't. So,
Yeah.
do you want me to? So I'll sit kind of where you would be sitting. Are you going to need a microphone, or are you just going to?
No, I don't think so. Anyway, we have a microphone as well. We need to.
Okay. Yeah.
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 And just the screen res. I'll figure out what that is.
So do we need to edit? Is this is what people can
Yeah.
see then?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, this is what people can see. That it's kind of getting cropped up because I think the screen resolution for the projector is much bigger than the screen resolution, the 9020 by 1080.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to just resize that to 9020 by 1080.
Mm-hmm.
But at least the stream status is good. So there's about a 20-second delay, which
Right.
is just something that we need to bear in mind with whatever we're doing, more specifically when it comes to asking questions or so.
Okay.
So
Well, I mean, would it be of any use for me to be in a different room?
no,
Or-
it doesn't make a difference at all. So these are the best bitrate and streaming settings that are currently available.
Mm-hmm.
Are we gonna be running the are we gonna be running video as well?
I don't
Like
think so.
you see making space.
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, I think that was the plan. How easy though or difficult is it to switch between like having slides and then just going to see someone talking?
Essentially we're gonna run the whole thing on Zoom, and all this is gonna do is capture whatever Zoom's seeing.
Yeah.
So if you're sharing a screen, like if you look at the screen right now, like that one,
Yeah.
you'll see the three of us over there.
Mhm. Yeah. I wonder.
Do you want me to turn my video on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I'm just
Because
wondering if it's better for people to be able to see.
Yeah, I think from my settings as well, like if we just open her and make her video, Yeah, so just go back to switch between videos.
Yeah. I mean, is it possible to have the like just two screens, so Megan and well, I know it's got three at the moment because we're both signed in.
Yeah, we will need to have like the three of us on it if you're doing the introduction as well. So
Okay.
essentially, you need one person to do the preso,
Yeah.
like change the slides or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's you.
Yeah.
Then there's Megan when she's going on through her discussion. I'll be handling the video streaming as well.
Yeah.
Because if we split the screen between Megan and the presentation, it's going to be a really small video for the presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and are people going to be watching it on their devices as well?
Well, I don't think so. I think everyone's just going to be seated at a computer.
We've mentioned in the kind of emails that go out after people register to try and look at it either on a tablet or a desktop, and not to use your phone. So yeah, I mean maybe that it's okay to just have the presentation or the slides kind of on taking up the main screen, and then just having two little video windows where they can actually see us as well.
So the presentation is...
So like
Yeah,
like it is.
so- Yeah, so that's exactly what they'll be able to see. As soon as I get this resolution right, then this is exactly what they'll be able to see.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine. We just need to make sure that when we run through the slides, the text isn't going behind.
Oh right. Yeah. Yeah.
Those three snapshots.
So is that something that we need to edit within the PowerPoint presentation, or is it something that you?
Yeah, no, in the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, so just a different
It's
slide.
just something to be aware of.
Yeah.
When we're going through it. I mean, we can run through the slides right now.
Yeah.
And then see if there's any content at all which is getting cut off. But I think that's an ideal location.
Yeah, because obviously it's that. So what are people are seeing this screen that's here? At the moment?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. But
Right.
they'll be looking at that screen. So right now it's just Megan, let me send you a link on YouTube. Essentially to see what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Where is my Okay. Yeah. So I've just emailed it to you. Okay. Set better in stream.
Yeah, I got it.
Yep. Yeah, so that's what they'd be able to see right now.
Okay.
So this is what you'd be able to see if you're looking at it from your mobile phone.
Yeah, I got it.
That's all right.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just gonna quickly run out. Can you guys talk? I'm just gonna see
Yeah.
what the audio is like.
Yeah.
But I think we might have. Oh wait, no, wait. This one.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so yeah, we'll kick off with this screen. I'll just flick through some slides just so you can see. So I guess yeah, we just need to keep in mind that 20-second delay.
And that delay is happening at their end, so we're not actually
Yeah.
going to experience it ourselves, except their questions in the chat will come through slower.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, your presenters, Megan and Rohan. I'll just invite you guys to introduce yourselves. And then once you've done that, I can go on to this slide, which you can talk to.
Mhm.
And yes, I guess I'll need to be. I can figure it. I'll ask Rohan when he comes back. So I'll need to be on Landcare as well, I guess, to see the questions coming in, and not just on Zoom working the presentation.
So I won't be able to see their answers, will I?
Yeah, you'll only be able to see them if you're on Landcare.
Okay.
So, unless you have another device that you could be on Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
No,
could be
it's-
on Zoom for the webinar and then have Landcarer open
Yep.
on something else.
Would that work okay? Just to have another window open with Landcare on it?
Yeah, we're just trying to figure out how to see the comments and the questions. Oh yeah, so when because I can't mess around with this, or it's just So will I need 2 devices, do you reckon? Because obviously if I'm driving the presentation on this,
Mhm.
I won't be able to see the questions and the comments coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll need something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have another device in any case. Just gonna make sure.
I'm sure I can just borrow another laptop from someone that's not in on Thursday.
Okay, sorry, can you keep talking?
Yeah.
I think the others just
So are you
So-
using
Yeah.
a computer for this, or
Yeah, I've got my computer, but I could have. I was just thinking I could have another window just sitting there, and if I could just see the comments,
yeah,
I can at least see what people are asking, and then see what people are saying, and then that's all I really need to. That's the only really interactive part that I think I would really engage with more heavily than the other ones, because I'm thinking that you would probably be monitoring the other ones and just pick out the really key
Yeah.
questions or whatever it might be.
yeah.
We just need to create space for that conversation to happen. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why. So I'll just run through. So obviously your slide about today. Yeah, I was wondering if we should start. This is before I knew about the delay, but
Everything's perfect.
okay, cool.
I think except the screen res,
Yeah,
which is getting cut off over here.
right.
Which-
Yeah, so I was thinking, do we ask the question before you start talking about that section and get people to submit their questions kind of while you're talking? And then I can be kind of looking through them as they're coming in. And then once you're finished talking about it, I can throw out some of the questions.
yeah, that would be good. Actually, it's just have that there, and then have them typing. I can talk about the challenges I've experienced. I was thinking also with each of these sections, do you want me to throw it back to you, Ro, to see if you've got any things you've experienced through working?
What I might do is, I was thinking about that, but I think I'm gonna bring up a few of your points once I start talking in any case to have that relatability.
Mhm.
But I don't want to break that chain of or that train of thought when it comes to what you're talking about, and then bring in more ideas at that specific point.
Yeah,
So
we'll
so
just wait for your bit.
yeah, because I was
You're
going
saying.
through some of your points as well, and there's a bunch of it that I can use in what I'm talking about as well. So
Mhm.
like when you're talking about algorithms, which I love that word. when you're talking about will it fit our future needs. For me, that's one of the points that I am making in terms of risk and redundancy planning as well. So when you're talking about the sheer number of platforms out there, I have a point over there to make as well. So I'll constantly relate it back to the points that you've already made. I just need to sit through the presentation
Yeah.
once at least.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, great.
Right.
That's awfully nice then.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
guess then if people have the chance to kind of submit questions while you're chatting, at least we'll get them in with that delay taken into account.
Yeah.
And then we should have some to be able, for you to be able to, or either one of you to be able to answer them
Yeah.
by the time you're finished chatting to all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, having those questions interspaced, I think the way you've currently put it makes a lot of sense, because then you have that time. You might not answer all those questions at that moment, again,
Yeah.
because of the delay itself.
Yeah.
But we need to mention somewhere that feed in your questions or whatever queries you have. And at the end of it, we'll take a few questions on board and answer them.
Yeah.
The question time.
And the
I guess.
questions should be in the. I'll put something in there about putting the questions into the comments box. I
Yeah.
guess we just need to remind people about that in case people are joining late.
Mhm.
And also mentioning that we're probably not going to have the time to answer all the questions live, but we'll get back to, we'll answer them all after the webinar, whatever ones that we don't get to during the
Yeah.
live session.
If you-
Yeah, and I think that those particular questions up the front about what have your challenges been, what have you, and then further down is what are some of the tools that are really working well. I think it's just relaying back to the audience some of the really good ones that have come out, or something we might not have heard within what I've shared or that people might not have experienced as well. So it's kind of developing, we're having this shared frustration, or we're having some really great insights into media tools. So it's not necessarily, I don't think we need to answer them. It's just a
Yeah.
shared response.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. So should I kick off from the start again?
Yeah.
Okay, so this will be the holding screen, and then we're gonna I'm gonna welcome everybody, introduce your presenters for today: Megan Rowlett from Intrepid Landcare and Rohan Pantau, the guy doing the cheesy Landcare, Innovation and Technology Manager for Landcare Australia and all-round digital whiz. And I'm going to hand over to Megan at that stage.
Yeah, and I thought that we could just introduce ourselves
Mhm.
a little bit, maybe just not super long, just talking about how we've used digital technology within the Landcare context, and then I'll just go into okay, you've heard a bit about us, and just want to hear from where you're from and what you're part of and what you hope to get out of it.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, I initially thought that maybe the introductions could be in the group chat, but then I thought it's just going to confuse people if we're telling them to type things in two different places. So maybe we'll just keep it all in the comments. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
I reckon then they can all see each other as well.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, and then, are we going to read out any of this stuff?
I don't think you need to go into too much detail. Like I said, if I can see it, I might just say, "Oh, great, we've got a good spread of locations and diverse groups," or something like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I get frustrated when other webinars spend too much time on that. It's like, just get into it.
Welcome Lucy from Queensland and such. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, do you want to run through then what your kind of talking points to this one? Hang on, for the next few.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the overview of what we'll go through, and I did change your 3 questions out of the Word document. Just, I don't know if this is okay. This feels okay. It just seemed to flow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, starting with the pitfalls and challenges, and then going into the wins and potential, and then and I'm open to feedback on this about whether you feel like before we go into after we go into pitfalls and challenges, get the negative stuff out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Is it better to go into how do you actually decide, or go into wins and potential, and then how do you decide? Because I feel like wins and potential is a nice segue into the land carer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true,
so,
actually.
Yeah, but I think both would work either way.
Mm.
Just open to your ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think maybe we'll split it up and do pitfalls, challenges, and then how to decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I guess it's a better flow. Yeah, I can make that change after slide 4.
All right, sweet.
And then questions. So yeah, question what have been some of your challenges, barriers, or pitfalls? Yeah, and do you want to go through this one?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So that this one I was going to talk about just how I think when I started there was only Facebook, so it was quite an easy choice. But now if you're stepping into deciding where to place your digital presence and what tools to use for communication engagement, there's so much to choose from. And so, yeah, and using all of the tools and playing with all of that, we've kind of started to have to really reel back and question, are we actually reaching the audience that we intended to reach? And that with algorithms, particularly, I'd say on Facebook's more my area of expertise, and I'm open to inserting more information here if you guys have some stats that might be interesting to share, or where you might be touching on it later on. It's just that often you might have this really great following, and then all of a sudden something will change. And we've seen that happen with Facebook, where you may not be the first thing that shows up in people's news feeds, so they might miss out on what events are coming up, what information you're sharing, and all of those sorts of things. And then you've also got the added pressure of all the other things that you've subscribed to in your personal digital media platforms. So there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of competition because everybody's got lots of different interests. So that's there as well. And then we've also seen technology evolve, and then there's also what's it going to look like in the future. And a tool might be working really well for you at the moment, but there's always this uncertainty because these tools are actually made to service so many different industries, individuals, and groups, that there is that risk that we may not be, targeting our audiences in the way that we want to. And then the other issue that's come up with our my personal use of social media, as well as when we've run groups and having that profile available to volunteers and using it as an engagement tool, is there is a challenge in finding things. And often the feedback's been people are really finding each other through personal recommendations or accidentally stumbling across your page looking for something else. It's really hard to find things with targeted searches, particularly in social media, because you're not necessarily not going to know the names of groups or how that ties to a particular geographical location. I get heaps of inquiries from people who just don't know where to go. They're having trouble wading through all of the information that's out there and finding a local group, and often that results in a loss of volunteerism, people going where the information is very clear and very accessible, and putting their energy into going and volunteering there. So yeah, that issue of finding each other, and there are websites that do service that, but again, there's still something missing because the same inquiries keep coming in. And it's even like as recent as last week. And then when we're actually volunteers running these platforms, there's also that added pressure of, well, what's the capacity of our group? What are the expectations we're actually putting on our networks and individuals within those networks to have this reach and engagement, and also coming in and using completely new digital technology that might be quite overwhelming for people who have stepped into different roles. And I've experienced this with networks that I've worked with, is, even setting up a share drive is overwhelming. And so, and all of that technology has changed within the last couple of years. So staying up to date with the knowledge can be also a deterrent for people staying involved and connected and wanting to, give back to groups in their own ways. So there's a lot of pressure. And the other thing that we've really noticed in recent times is when we're constantly plugged in, particularly when there's multiple information coming in, like Twitter and Facebook and all of those sorts of things, people are really starting to tap out of using social media because there's this constant overload of information, which is leading to burnout and all sorts of things. And we're now creating networks with young people where they're just saying, look, I'm just refusing to have accounts on these platforms because it's just not good for my health right now. So just keeping that in mind, that our awareness of mental health and the way that we're interacting with information and news and screen time is now being reassessed very heavily by people. So what's that going to do for us? How's that going to inform our future use of technology, and where is our energy best spent when we are searching for specific information that's going to serve our needs? And then there's also the issue of limited time and resources, and that being, a lot of coordinators in paid positions are often tasked with taking on the use of digital resources and designing that and maintaining it. But what happens when that funding gets cut and those skills haven't been passed on to other members of the group or people in your network, and there's just suddenly this loss of information and knowledge that happens. So those kind of things go hand in hand, the people in finances. So that's pretty much what I was going to talk to, maybe using some specific examples. If you have any other information you'd like inserted in there, just let me know.
No, I guess my only comment would be just, I just want to avoid it being kind of all about social media. So just to, obviously that's a big part of it, but just so that the focus of the webinar is kind of wider across like digital tools that can help with administrative stuff as well. So even just touching on, whether it's Google Drive or kind of just mentioning some of them as well as, Facebook and Twitter, just so it's not going to be all about social.
Okay, that's good to know, because I've got quite a few examples of how those tools have been a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, cool. And it's funny you mentioned about the pressure on groups and volunteers and stuff to have, presence on platforms. Sometimes I was just speaking to someone yesterday and she was saying about how, they're seeing that there's more of a preference sometimes to give grants to groups that have a good social media presence, but that some of the groups just really don't have the capacity to do that, and that's kind of a challenge for them.
Yeah, it's like Landcare's almost being channeled into becoming a business, even at the local group level, and it's like, how do you find a healthy balance of recognizing that there is this kind of, you've got to have this place where you're sharing and almost proving your impact, but not let it be the only thing that then kind of consumes all your time and energy. So it's an interesting evolution, I think. And without going into it on the day, I find it really interesting that's really a heavy conversation Landcare New South Wales is having with their networks. Is like seeing Landcare as a business. I'm like, I find myself resisting that a little bit, but anyway, but that's the reality of what we're being kind of merging into, I guess.
But no, I think that all sounds great. Do you have any questions or comments about it? No. So I presume at that stage then we will have some questions through. So do you want to look at the questions? Because you'll be talking to this, so you can keep an eye on questions as well. At that stage, do you want me to kind of say, we've had quite a few questions come through, what, I'm just going to pick a few, what do you think of this, and just kind of throw a question to you that way? Or
I think what might be good is if I just say, we've been some really interesting stuff has been flowing through. I've been chatting. Trish, do you have any really interesting things that you could share with us around some other barriers and challenges groups and individuals are facing?
Yeah. Cool.
And then maybe 3 to 5 max would be good, just to get that, I guess, the diversity in there.
Okay. And then we'll head on to, if you could mention again at that stage then that, we may not get to answer all the questions, but we'll respond to them all afterwards. And then shoot out this question about. Or were we going to hang on? We were going to change the order though, weren't we?
Yeah, so I could go into, okay, so like you hear all these issues and it's overwhelming. So how do you actually choose where to put your energy? And then I can go into being clear on what your direction and purpose is and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Did you have a side? So this one here.
How do I decide what to use?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do I actually decide what to use? And I think, I just really want to make that point is like having clarity around the purpose of your group or network is something you can really use as a guiding tool to decide what is going to work for you. And then with the lens of what are the needs of you, I like to think of it from a personal need, what your group might need, and then what your audience you're trying to reach is going to need. So you might have a real preference around, okay, well, I want to feel really connected to this national movement. I really want to learn what other groups are doing. I also am a volunteer, so I want to know what's happening in my community on a regular basis so I know how to kind of have that in my life as well, so it kind of mixes in with my calendar. So I want to make sure that I'm accessing that information. For my group, I want to make sure that we've got, a platform or tools that are going to help us communicate well together. It's going to allow us to share ideas. It may be around collecting data around our membership. It might be a way of collecting fees. We might want to fundraise. So thinking about all of the things that are linked to the purpose of our network, and what we need as a group to function within that purpose. And then our audience. So our audience might be the network of volunteers that we're supporting. If we're an umbrella organisation, we might be a group on the ground. We really want to focus on engaging our local community, our neighbours. It might be an agricultural network where we really want to have landholders connected. So just thinking about what their needs in the communication tools or the digital platforms that we're using, and how those tools are accessible, they're easy, how they speak to the needs of those different groups, and just doing a bit. If you haven't done that before, I think that's a really great starting point. And if you have done that, it's a nice thing to check in on and just look at the things that you are using and checking whether they are actually meeting those needs. And then I'm not sure whether I don't know if there will be an expectation of the audience to go, because I'm thinking a nice example would possibly I can share about how we made those decisions for Intrepid Landcare. Just looking at, okay, well, what our needs, we have a national audience and we're going to be reaching, young people, but we're also want to be reaching communities who really want to support young people, recognizing not everybody's on social media, so a website's a really great place that we want to have this information about who we are and what we do. And then the needs of our audience is young people, and we've got these communities of young people going out into the world and doing the things that they want to do. So having information available that supports that, information that inspires that, and information that engages more young people who might be just on the edge of stepping into something. So our choices were Instagram because it's a great storytelling platform. It's very visual, and it is not necessarily creating community, but it's telling the world what we're doing in really visual ways. Then Facebook has definitely been one of the most useful tools to have communication with the external world and people who might be wanting to step into volunteering, but also for creating communities of practice of young people who are stepping into leadership roles, who are curious about what other young people are doing, who want a place to brainstorm ideas, who want a place to ask for help from people who have had a little bit more experience, and also just a place that they can then also engage other young people in their local communities. So there's all these levels that are happening that are serving those needs. And then also for themselves is constantly thinking about, all right, well, how am I getting involved in my local community? How is that going to be appealing to me? What's the language I'm using? And so all of those sorts of things are meeting the needs of young people. And then for communities, having resources available on our website that support people to engage young people, promoting workshops and opportunities that help to grow skills and support that as well. So it's really just having those filters on. That's helped us make those decisions on what digital platforms that we're going to use. We also use Google. We use all of our stuff is housed on Google. It's where we design our programs. It's where we collaborate. It's where we host meetings digitally. We're spread across the country, so we can't physically meet. And that's been really, really effective for us to stay connected as a network of people who are running this organisation. And then also being present to, you can go big and get really excited and dive into everything. And, we've had experiences with that, new technology, wanting to test things. But then also recognizing, all right, well, what's realistic in terms of how much time we all have to give to this, recognizing we don't have financial resources to support digital engagement. So we need to be mindful of our time and energy in that. And then also, what do we actually need and how are we going to afford that into the future so it is sustainable? And then the one thing I always talk to local community groups, because it is so overwhelming on where to start, is just choose one thing that you feel meets a couple of those needs and just do it really well and test your boundaries, test your time, test your resources, and then grow from there. And the other thing is, like, if the barrier is that you just don't have the skills or the confidence, invite other people who have those skills into your network. And there's a really great example of this when I was a local Landcare coordinator for Landcare Illawarra, and nobody on the committee had the capacity, the time, or the skills to manage the social media platforms. So we put a call out to the university network to invite students who really wanted to not necessarily go out in the field and get their hands dirty, but they had social media skills. They also wanted to give something back to the environment in a different way. And we had, in 10 minutes, something like 4 or 5 applications of people who were really wanting to step up and support that Landcare network in that way. And so we set up a 12-month program. We developed a communication strategy with them so they were really clear on the type of information that we wanted posted. We also gave them creative license to weave in their own messaging that was aligned to our vision and our values. And it looked great on their resume as well. So it was kind of like a really nice win-win for us and a different way of engaging a younger generation into our Landcare network.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's great. Do you have anything for that one?
No, because there are a few points that I can definitely walk off as well. So
yeah. Cool. Okay, and then we can throw in this question about moving on to what's kind of worked well for you, and you'd love to hear from other people about what's working well for them. And then it's this one.
The wins and potential, yeah.
Sorry, just a quick suggestion.
Yeah.
Can we put, for each of the questions, can we add a hashtag to whatever that question is?
Mm-hmm.
Just so that when you're reading through all the comments that come in, you know exactly where that comment belongs to or what that comment belongs to.
Yeah.
If we're doing it in parts, like there are 2 questions or 3 questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just in terms of.
So you mean like hashtag challenges for the first question or something like that?
Hashtag challenges.
And ask people to use that in there. Okay.
And hashtag digital tools. So
Hashtag
even
wins,
when you're reading it out, you might have an idea that comes in later for during the digital tools for challenges.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't confuse the 2, I guess.
Yeah.
But then even when someone's going back to the presentation and viewing it, they know exactly what this relates to.
Okay.
Can we have the hashtag, because I'm just thinking of people who might get overwhelmed by that, have the hashtag in the question, but then also have it up the top here with the heading.
Absolutely.
So that it's, it's visible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
So that was
This one.
Wins and potential.
Yeah.
Do
Do you reckon you'd be sitting here, or I'm just trying to figure out the camera?
Yeah, that side.
That side.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's too much light.
Yeah.
That's at the back.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, I've kind of touched on this a little bit already. The tools that are working for us in the perspective of Intrepid Landcare. But just to go into it a little bit more deeply, social media for us has been really great as a free promotional marketing tool. And as I shared before, it's awesome for storytelling, getting the word out, and also injecting a bit of positive news and inspiration into what the actual impact of having this movement connected across Australia and in communities around Australia, and what they're doing for the local environment, because we're often bombarded, like I spoke about that noise earlier, bombarded with such negative news. So having this opportunity to share our positive news stories, and also the impact you can have as a volunteer, is a really great opportunity. And also looking at what I shared also before around learning and growing together as a community. I think for me personally, I just love seeing posts of other groups that are doing great stuff around Australia. I just feel really connected that I'm part of something bigger. And it also creates a sense of camaraderie. But sometimes it can feel really hard when you're out on the ground. And this is often an issue with volunteer groups, is that they experience isolation and burnout. But when you're visibly seeing what everybody's doing collectively, it is quite a positive thing. For myself, I can speak for, but I've heard from other groups it's nice. And before, we really only got that when we came together at gatherings and conferences, but being connected digitally allows for that to happen more frequently. And I know that there's networks who are really embracing these digital communities of practices, and this is something that we work with within Intrepid Landcare when we are supporting young leaders to step up and start designing projects, which can take a lot of courage and energy for people to do. So knowing that there's this network of support, I personally make myself available to lots of young people who can message me and offer coaching for them if they're stuck on anything, and then I know that's so often offered locally by coordinators to people who are new in volunteering. But it's just another level of authentic connection with like-minded people who want to do something positive in their local communities. And there's a really great example of this happening in Southeast New South Wales, where all of the Landcare coordinators and people in support roles within Landcare communities are really well connected, and they share their learnings and trainings and even their failures, and it's a safe space for them to learn and grow together and share that journey. And digital platforms are allowing for that to happen. And the potential, I guess that, this is going to lead nicely into hearing about what the Landcare could be and what we could all dream for it. But looking at ways we can use the technology more efficiently to collaborate and design. I find that at the moment we're kind of spreading ourselves across a few platforms, being emails and Google Forms and Facebook groups. But wouldn't it be amazing if we could just have everything in the one space where it's visible and we're designing and you can see people collaborating? I think that would be a really great opportunity. We use technology to host our online meetings, but we're really interested in exploring more effective technology that's going to help us host training and webinars and workshops that reach even more people than through a live Facebook stream that can be quite unstable at times, or just relying on funding to go and show up in communities to run things. I'm curious to explore what else is possible when there's so much knowledge and skills that sits within the Landcare network in the movement, and how can we be bringing that more to the surface and sharing our own, I guess, wisdom around different topics or experiences or learnings that we're having with more people who are coming in and want to fast track that learning. And then, as I've mentioned, a barrier, but I think that if we really think about it or we explore this technology a bit more, what's a really easy way that people can find groups and projects that they can access in their local communities, or even when they're traveling? That's come up for people who have been traveling around Australia, and I've got random messages saying, hey, I'm in this community, I'm in this neighborhood, I'm in this area. what groups are doing what, like what can I get involved in? Because people are increasingly looking for opportunities to build a bit more purpose around their travel and creative ways of having an impact on the local environment that they're essentially consuming and enjoying while they're having some time off. And some really great feedback that's come back through our leadership retreats with Intrepid Landcare is when they've gone out to find projects, they're really curious to know if they're actually welcome. It's one of the barriers that comes up for people is not feeling welcome or invited. So how can we be using technology to make our groups and our projects more visible that are youth friendly or new volunteers are welcome? Because while these can be perceptions in people's minds, it really is where you land and what they read into. That's going to feel like an invitation or something that's already bubbling along. They don't really look like they need extra help. So young people have come up with things like logos or little, branding that, says this is family friendly, this is youth friendly, this is disability friendly, So things like that have come up. And then, of course, ways of collecting data and statistics and managing our membership of groups is being something that land carers have, I'm sure even before my time, but over the last 12 years, how do we collect data well and how do we display that well and how do we manage our memberships and all of that sort of things. And I understand that's been a conversation that you guys have been having with communities. So, and then thought I'd just hand over to you, Rod, to talk about, okay, well, what else is possible? Or is there a question in there? I can't remember.
Yeah, there was that, so you can throw to me, I guess, and see kind of what questions have come in on that. But I think that all sounds good. My only comment on that would be maybe to keep, so where were we with, it was after that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think you had like a lot of kind of good concrete examples in the deciding what to use. So I think maybe split them between that section and this one. Like maybe talking about the Google Drive example in the wins and potential, like when you're talking about what tools are working for you, and kind of just splitting them across those two sections I think would be good.
Yep, cool.
But I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I thought that was really insightful just from this.
And I like that talking about kind of the communities of practice, because that's something we've been talking to people about as well as land carers, potentially a platform for that sort of thing. So that's really good. And the inclusivity I think as well is a really important point, because I've read that in like research into kind of volunteerism and land care groups that sometimes people want to volunteer but groups may not necessarily want them, and that then puts them off from trying to do it again if they have a bad experience when they try to do it the first time. So those badges and things that you talked about, it's a really good idea. It's sorry, the stories that come out of, like when we do the youth engagement workshops, we do some role play, and then the stories that stimulates out of groups who share really bad experiences is like whoa. It's it's really interesting. It is. I think it was research the Greater Sydney Land Care Network did that I was reading, and it was some interviews with students around the Inner West that had gone to local groups and basically just were pretty much told not to come back. And I think if you get that sort of reaction, you're just kind of going to go, well, screw this. Like,
exactly.
But at the same time, I understand some groups maybe don't have the capacity or don't like need more volunteers. So it would be good to have the knowledge of who is actually looking for help and what opportunities are there out there. So you find a positive opportunity rather than making an effort and just being made to feel unwelcome.
That's right.
Okay, do you want to will we run through your stuff?
Sorry,
it's 12:05.
Okay, how about this side?
So we've gone, so then we can go through maybe a couple of questions that might have come in on that one. And then head through to this.
What I might do over here is a quick run through of how Landcarer came to be. This is more from the session that we ran through in Sydney itself. I think just to put things into context,
Yep.
instead of just jumping straight into Landcara itself,
Yeah.
but give it that personal touch as well. So just a quick run through of where we're coming from with regards to Landcara. So introduce it by talking about, so since joining Landcare Australia almost 4 years ago, I've been engaging with groups in the digital space and trying to help in whatever way I possibly can. And as you mentioned, Megan, there are tons of platforms out there, and to be able to help individual groups, it gets really tough. So I noticed a few things with regards to the groups itself. One being that they shared similar goals and experiences, but at the same time they work in silos. You also have individuals who want to connect with others, irrespective of the geographical boundaries that currently separate them. In terms of learning, you have individual members who want to learn from the success stories of others on one hand, and on the other you have individuals who have those that knowledge and experience that they'd want to share with the rest of the community. So it's about connecting those two. And we've also been hearing a lot of late about, through most of the surveys that we've run, about not just looking at Landcare today, but also planning for the future of Landcare by engaging the next generation of Landcarers. One of the key points that I also noticed was the lack of risk and redundancy planning when it comes to digital, more specifically. And this, I'm going to just spurt out 3 examples. One is there's no ongoing technology support. What do you do then? What if Facebook shuts down? That's another example. And the individual who created my platform doesn't exist anymore, so the platform's just redundant as of right now. So those are just 3 examples of risks that do exist, which you might not take into consideration when you're all happy and setting up that platform, but what happens next? And that being said, the common goal for the Landcare movement still exists. You've got a ton of passionate and dedicated volunteers and individuals out there who want to make a positive difference, and it's my personal belief to basically help in any way I possibly can to aid in their efforts. What I ended up doing was I started building this idea in my head, which was an integrated online digital community for the Landcare movement, one that had the potential to break through the silos, at least digitally, and the geographic boundaries, allowing individuals to connect with one another based on location or based on shared interests. And then also the free tools that we provide through the platform allows us to constantly keep them updated based on the feedback that we get from community members as well. Then by using technology, the hope is also to engage the existing and the next generation of Landcarers. Think of it as a 24/7 national Landcare conference where you get to connect, collaborate, and communicate with anyone that you want to. This started spiraling out of control when it came to ideas, which was, what if you could, for example, run your entire grant applications online, or you could run Landcare Awards online, or you had the ability to use augmented reality or virtual reality into training and learning, essentially the exact problems that you were talking about, Megan, about you don't have the skills or those technology-based skills or resources. What if we could merge those 2 aspects, the needs of the community with keeping in trend with today's technological updates itself? And basically we have a web and mobile ready platform that we have today, which basically means you can access the platform 24/7. But what I also want to touch on is the fact that, or rather how important feedback and collaboration is from the community, because it's based on this feedback that we've received from community members that we've incorporated a membership management tool to allow for online payments. And the second one is we're working with a local community group to incorporate citizen science-based projects directly into the platform. We've got feedback saying that users already have multiple WordPress-based websites where all their stories are on, and they didn't want to type in all the stories again. So we created an import function where you could import all your stories in. You could import all your Facebook photos, videos essentially into the platform. But the biggest thing is providing support to any digital platform. As of right now, if you approach any other platform, you have a ready guide. But when you have the ability to tailor the platform based on community feedback and constantly improve it, the chance for success over there is immense. But that's only possible based on community feedback. And honestly, the aim is not to replace any of the existing tools that are currently being used, but to integrate and work with them. And that's essentially where we're at with the Landcara right now.
Cool.
So so that's just a general feedback and kind of takes into account all the points that are currently on the screen as well.
Mm.
Do you have
Yeah,
any
that's good.
questions?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I still need to work on that, but I'll figure out how to get your
Yeah.
things in.
So I don't know. I mean, this slide's in there, but I don't know if you want to. I mean, it depends. I should have been taking note of the time, but I haven't. I don't know how long we've been actually since we started running through it. I'm not sure.
I think maybe half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not sure how much time we'd have to go through.
Yeah.
Maybe we should pick some, like the top 5 features or something like that, rather than having this whole thing. What do you reckon?
Is there another slide after this? Question time. Okay. Is that the last one?
It's just
Okay.
a wrap
Yeah.
up. Thank you. If you'd like to present, let us know.
I think based on the time, I could just say that, like, if you have time, then just do that.
Yeah.
And I could just mention that these are just a few of the key features that we have at the platform. If you'd like any more information, we also have the support website, or you could get in touch with us at the end of this.
Yeah.
But if we do have time, then I'll just run through a basic story section where you can share or read about inspirational stories from other members, connect with individuals based on location or shared interests, manage your group, their stories, their projects all at one place itself. Think of the project management tool as a new way of reporting on projects, or rather an easy way of reporting on projects as opposed to like a complicated project management tool. Events, schedule, plan your events, invite other members, join a discussion board and see where those ideas lead to. Instantly connect with any Landcara that's part of your network. Join webinars like these, or host your own webinars. And the interest groups that, again, those communities of practice groups that Megan was talking about. A repository of all the information at one space, access a repository of information at one space, so the data bank. My favorite, the e-learning, which is where anyone can be a teacher and anyone a student. And finally, the poll section where you can get instant feedback on questions that you might have. Just a quick spiel.
Yeah, I like the key features section, because I think this one, if hopefully we have more time so that you can dive into this, because I think this is what sparks the imagination of people for what's possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll try and keep the previous one a little shorter than
I
if
guess.
we have time.
Yeah.
But I guess if everyone's interested in it, they'll just stick around, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just gonna flick back and kind of try and guesstimate time. So I mean, the intro is only going to be a couple of minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'd say like 2 minutes probably. This would probably take us up to maybe. I'd say this would probably be up to 5 minutes at this stage. And then your more detailed slides, would they be about maybe 5 to 7 minutes each?
Yeah.
Maybe seven minutes each or so. And a couple of minutes for questions. So that's another 7 to. So maybe we're up to, I'd say you're right, Megan, maybe about a half an hour for the intro and your bit. So then we've got about we do want to leave time for more questions at
Questions.
the end.
Yeah.
So maybe you've got about 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
then we can say any other questions, or you can shoot out this question
Mhm.
and then close it on that. Yeah, I reckon we should be alright. And I mean, even if we go over the 45 minutes, it doesn't really matter. As you say, people can always.
No, for me, if you
Okay.
go over 45 minutes and people are really interested, you'll know how many people are really interested.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and the impact that the webinar is actually making on people.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, like, that invitation. Do you want to host something?
Mm.
Is it? Are we ready for that? That's just a question for you guys more so.
Yeah.
Or do you want to make it more open rather than just
Like
a
to
webinar?
suggest
Is there
topics?
something you'd like to explore more, or do you want to?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the other, I did have another kind of suggestion was, would you like one-on-one training for your group on Landcare? Was the other thing I had, and then I thought I'll just keep it simple and ask one question. But we could alternatively ask people to suggest topics for future webinars.
mhm.
Yes,
then
I
we-
reckon
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah,
Because I feel like where you might be at the moment is you're still fielding information about
Yeah.
how to build this platform more.
Mhm.
yeah,
And then that's going to need some capacity building once you've designed that.
Mhm.
So that would be where the one-on-one training or the group training or more webinars might come
Yeah.
in. And then I feel like once you've got like your audience engaged and feeling confident with the technology, perhaps then that invitation to host your own training or workshops could be extended.
Yeah.
Because even I was playing with the app last night. I'm like, oh, even I don't know how to use this well.
Cool. And then, I thought we could finish on this. If anyone has any feedback or wants to get in touch, then
Yeah.
here's contact details.
Yeah.
I just presumed you didn't want us to put down your mobile phone number, Megan.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, they
Yeah.
can find it on the Intrepid Landcare website anyway, so it's
Yeah.
no big deal.
Okay. 170 registered users now.
170.
170.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, I think that I'm pretty happy with that. What about you guys?
I'm happy it's working. So
The technology,
Technology's working.
yeah.
it's like
Yeah, absolutely.
before we jump into those bigger ideas, let's just make this work.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
So-
that's true.
Mm.
Do you think we should do like a little run through just from a technology perspective maybe on Thursday morning to make sure
Yeah,
like
we
maybe
will.
get a few people in the office to log in and stuff?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, they can log in, but they won't be able to see it live streamed
Right, okay.
till such time as it goes live. We can test a preview on our computer itself. But yeah, because I'm gonna have to change that key to the live stream key itself.
Yeah. Right, okay. Yeah, I
So-
get you, because it's live streamed and then that's the recording that gets uploaded.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, we will catch up before, like
Mhm.
at least 15 to 20 minutes before, just to make sure we've got the audio working right. We've got the video in the screen size it's supposed to be
Yeah.
displayed at.
Well, I mean, from your guys'
Then-
perspective, because you're doing most of the talking, I'm just the glamorous assistant.
Yeah.
Do you do you feel like we need another run through tomorrow, or are you happy enough to just catch up maybe half an hour before on Thursday?
I'm happy to catch up on Thursday because I'm going to go through this recording in any case right now
Yeah.
and go through some of the points Megan's made and see how I can tie them in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, see if I can cut down a few points
Yeah.
on my fact sheet as well.
And what about you,
but-
Megan?
Yeah, I'm comfortable just meeting on Thursday. I'm just going to tighten up the examples and where they sit best. And yeah, but I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Okay. Well, should we schedule it for maybe I don't know, like, do you want to do a quick catch up, say an hour before it starts, and then
Yeah.
kind of
Just
get together finally, maybe about 20 minutes before,
Yeah.
quarter an hour before?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that sounds good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because sorry, just a quick flow is I just need to
I
know
need-
where I'm coming
Yeah,
in.
I need to reorder
Yeah.
some of the slides.
Yeah.
So I'll do that after this, and I'll put in the notes section kind of who's talking to what slide.
Yeah.
So we all are across that, and I'll
Okay.
send that around then.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then I'll send a Zoom invitation for 11 o'clock on Thursday, 10 o'clock your time, and then I think I've made the Zoom. We've created the Zoom for the actual webinar already, haven't we?
We should be there.
It's
I
there.
reckon it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we can change that to 11:45 and just go into then. Yeah. Cool.
That's for today.
I don't think it's in here, but I know it's
Oh,
in
it's the
Zoom
same link.
because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had
yeah.
looked for it yesterday.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Well, and anything in the meantime, just give me a shout, Megan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks so much,
Yep.
Megan.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
Yeah.
All right.
No
Sounding
pressure. 770 people only to impress.
good. Well, how many did we have that other webinar that I was on?
Yeah,
Trish?
I'll have to look. I don't think it was that many, but it was 100
Oh,
something.
really?
But yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to look back and see.
Oh,
Cool. Okay, we'll
Oh,
talk to you
it'll
soon.
be fun. All
Yeah.
right, I'll
Yeah.
talk to you. I'll talk to you by email and then talk to you on Thursday.
Yeah.
Sounds
Okay. Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.